Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to our channel, The Knowledge of God in a Deeper Dimensions. I know that vibrates you, right? Okay, well, it's a great pleasure having you on this channel because you're gonna learn things that will transform your mind. Do you hear it right? Your mind gonna be transformed. That's the reason why you're on this channel. Knowledge of God in a deeper dimension. So here is what I'm going to do today. I am going to answer a very simple question. It's come as the following. Can God come to earth? And does God use God to come to earth? You see, a very simple question has two parts in it. This is the question that I'm going to answer. Are you ready to sit down and listen to me answering questions like that? Before I start, let me ask you this question. Are you here to learn something new or you're just gonna pass by? If you're just gonna pass by, you're not really interested in learning something deep, you can just leave the channel right now. But if you're ready to learn something deep and to get yourself transformed internally, I am suggesting you first get a pen and a piece of paper or a notebook so you note down things because you're gonna learn stuff brand new to your life. Make sense? Okay, if you didn't have that, so go ahead and get a pen and get a piece of paper, so I'm waiting for you. Okay, so let's go and start right now. How come a limited person, a limited being, can come around with some idea or some explanation to explain God? We all know that God is infinite. God is above and beyond the human mind ability of understanding. So how can an infinite being can be explained by a limited being, which is just a simple person? So it sounds kind of complicated or difficult for someone to explain God. Now, how will I be able to explain God through this question? To talk about God, to explain if God can come to earth, I must know something about God, right? And to explain if God had used God to come to earth, I must know who God is or what God is. So how would I know about God? We all know that to speak about someone, we need information about the person. But how can we go around and to learn about someone? We need two things to really know about a person. First of all, we need some actions from the person. And secondly, we need some words of the person. Now, where can we find the revelations of actions and words of God? It's through the Bible. Yes, through the Bible. So I am going to use the Bible because the scripture is the only book that talks about God and that reveal God. For that reason, I'm going to use the Bible to answer these two questions. Until now, you read me. Okay, here is what I'm going to do to answer these two questions. To find all the information needed, to combine and to come up with a perfect answer to these questions, I'm going to analyze a 4 principal point. The first principal point that I'm going to analyze is some action that God has already done. And secondly, I'm going to analyze some characteristic or traits of God to know what it looks like. To know if he can come to earth or if he used God to come to earth. We need to know who God looks like or what God looks like because we don't know who God is or what God is. So we are gonna go deeper. We will be digging to find about God. And the third point that I'm going to analyze is where God is located. Where is he or where is it? I don't know. Where is he located? How many heavens that God has created? From the Bible, when we're reading, it says that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. If he created the heavens, where in the heavens is it located? So we need to know about that. And fourthly, to finish, I'll be analyzing some great manifestations of God, so I know what He really look like and what He is really capable of. If He is capable to come on earth, or if He used God to come to earth. These are the 4 points that I'm going to analyze to find all the information needed to answer these 2 questions. Do you see the path that I'm going to go through? Now, if you're ready to stay with me and to take that journey till we have all the information needed to know if God can come to earth, or if He used God to come to earth, let's go. We're going to let the class begin. Now we are at the very first point. We are analyzing some God's deed. Let's go. I'm going to read this first verse. It's in the book of Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. Here's what it says. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Here in this verse, he said that God is the creator. God is the one taking the initiative to create everything that you can see. He created the heavens and He created the earth. Now, if we only pay our attention only to the earth, to find out how giant, how big, and how unbelievable the earth is. Who can create the earth? Who can measure the earth? I believe that there is not a single human that exists on earth that came around and say, I know the measure of the earth. People try to come up with some measure and say that, oh, this is what the earth is length and this is what the earth is in size. Nobody can measure the earth. Can anyone come with the full knowledge of every single thing that's on earth? Certainly not. That's already beyond of our understanding. We don't have the full knowledge of everything that's on earth. Now, if it says, according to the Bible, God is the one created everything that is there. First, from this only action, we can see that God is extraordinary. God is beyond of what we can understand. But as God revealed Himself through His Bible, we are going deep and deeper to find out more about God. That was the first verse. Now let's go. We're going to read a second verse. Psalm chapter 24, verse 1. Here's what it says. The earth is Yahweh's, with its fullness, the world, and those who dwell in it. This is what it said in this second verse. Psalm chapter 24, verse 1, says that the earth in its fullness belongs to God. Now, if God created the earth, can He create everything that is in it for Himself? Now, let's ask ourselves a little question. How about ourselves? How about human? Does human being parts of the earth, parts of everything that's all created? Certainly, yes. Now, if you are one of the creation of God, I am one of it. Every single thing that you can see on earth or part of His creation, that means God has created everything, so you belongs to God. God creating everything for Himself. He is the owner of us. He is the master. He owns us. Now you know that? Not everyone knows that if God owns them. Yes, God does, because He created the earth and everything that's in it for Himself. This is what it says in this book now. The earth is Yahweh's in its fullness, the world and those who dwell in it. Everything belongs to Him. He created everything for Himself. Let's go. I'm going to read another verse. It says in Isaiah chapter 45, verse 9. It says, woe unto him who strives with his maker, a clay pot among the clay pots of the earth. Shall the clay ask him who fashions it, what are you making? Or your work has no hands. In this verse it says that It's a misfortune situation for someone who try to strive with his maker, who try to come into dispute with his maker. The same that a clay potter cannot discuss with his maker, a clay potter cannot question his maker, is the same thing that you cannot try to come around with some quarrels or disputes with God. You don't even know God. Why would you like to come into a dispute with him or into a striving with him? It's a misfortune situation for you. Now, if you're living on earth, because you have the ability to talk and to think, if things are going around and you don't understand them, if you don't understand what's going on earth, the best thing to do is asking simple questions in the intention of understanding what's going on. But if you come up with quarrels, if you come up with arrogancy, you're gonna be wrong and you will be judged. And this is what he says here. It's a misfortune situation. Woe to him who strives with his maker. Meaning, don't try that. And let's read another verse to find something deeper. In Isaiah chapter 44, verse 24, here's what it says. Yahweh, your Redeemer, and he will form a yoke from the womb, says, I am Yahweh, who makes all things, who alone can stretch out the heavens, who spreads out the earth by himself. In this verse, he said that Yahweh, again, he is the one who making everything. He says, again, he is your Redeemer. He did something for you to become more and more for him. And we will need to know what it means here by saying that Yahweh, your maker and your Redeemer. If he is your Redeemer, there is something that's taking place there. But it says he knows you. He is the one who forms you. From the womb of your mother, Yahweh made you. He knows everything about you. He knows the time that you were to come on earth, and he knows the time that you will leave the earth. He knows everything that you will have to do on earth. Even if most people step out of their life purpose because they can't know what their life purpose is, but Yahweh, the Creator, knows everything about you. You get nothing to worry instead of to just bring forth everything to him, and then he'll help you to find out how to take care of them. Simple as that. Let's read this. I'm going to read another verse. Let's see what it says here. Isaiah 45, verse 12. Here's what it says. I have made the earth and created man on it. Even my hands have stretched out the heavens. I have commanded all their army. Again, it says here that he is the maker. He is the one making everything and created man, put them on earth. It's God who made a man on earth. Whoever you are, whatever your state or situation in life, you belongs to God. God made you on earth. He made the earth and he made you on earth. You belongs to him. And he says with his hands he stretched out the heavens. He was the one doing all of them. To see some of the things that God has made. I discovered that God has made some amazing things and things that we're not even able to understand how he made them. Like the heavens. Who could know how God started to create the heavens? Who can know how God started to create the earth? Can we say, okay, God's supposed to start from that side, or from the west, or from the east? He said he made them, and those are things appear beyond of our understanding, but we just have to believe that God has made them. As God revealed himself through the scriptures, so let's keep digging deeper so we understand more about God. These few verses we have just read about a few things that God did reveal us his greatness, his unlimited power, and all his unlimited right over everything that he has created. Do you see how powerful God is? How mysterious it is? And how undiscernible it is? God cannot be studied. There is no research that can reveal us God. The only chance that we get to know God is only through revelation. Because God's not only is the one who can reveal himself. Otherwise, there is no way that we will come around to know anything about God. Thanks to God by his love for us, by deciding to reveal himself through his words. Only his word will reveal him to us. Otherwise, there is no way that we will come around to come to know who God is. God cannot be studied. There is no research that can reveal you God. But he is the one who takes that initiative to reveal himself to us through his words. You see, I've just only read few verses. Those verses only reveal how God is mysterious. To create only the earth, to create human, to put everything on it. It's mysterious. How can we discern that? Huh? Okay, now I believe that you see some points that have been touched. Still now, we don't find anything so far. We just see God is amazing, that God is great, he is a mysterious being acting and doing amazing things. This is what we see about God so far. But we have got to keep digging until we discover the full information we need to answer these two questions. Now we are going to touch the second point of the 4 points that we have to touch. Let's go to analyze some characteristics of God to know who God looked like or what God looked like. I'm going to read the 3 verses that will reveal us that God has hands, God has mouth, that God has eyes, and God has a voice, meaning that God can speak. We are going to read this in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 18, verse 6, 7, and 10. Jeremiah 18:6. Here's what it says. House of Israel, can't I do with you as this potter? Says Yahweh. Behold, as the clay in the potter's hands, so you are in my hand, house of Israel. This verse can reveal us that God has hands. He compared himself as God the potter, as God the clay. The pot of clay is in the hand of the potter, the same that the Israel people are in his hand. By comparing, as we are comparing, but we know that God exists in a spiritual state. We never seen God, and we don't know who God is and what God is so far. But as we are analyzing some words through his scriptures, we'll find out revelations about himself, because God is using a language of a human to explain himself to us or to reveal himself to us. That's the reason why we are going through the Bible, through his words, to discover exactly who God looks like and what God is or who God is. Here it says that God has hands. At the instant I speak concerning a nation and concerning a kingdom, to pluck up and to break down and to destroy. In this verse, it's explaining that God has the ability to speak. That means he has a mouth. Jeremiah 18:10 says, if they do that which is evil in my sight, that they don't obey my voice, then I will repent of the good, of which I said I would benefit them. In this verse, we see clearly that God has, first of all, we see that God has a voice, because he says if they don't obey my voice. And he says if they do that which is evil to my sight. If God has a sight, that means God has the possibility to see. God has eyes like us. God has mouth. He can talk. God has hands. He has the people of Israel in his hands. Let's keep going so we discover more. We are going to read another verse that will reveal that God has ears, meaning he is able to hear. Let's read this verse. Genesis 21:17. Here's what it says. God heard the voice of the boy. The angel of God called to Agar out of the sky and said to her, "What troubles you, Agar? Don't be afraid, for God has heard the voice of the boy where he is." In this verse, we see exactly that God has got the ability to hear. That means he has ears. Is there another verse? I'm going to read another verse again that will reveal us that God has a feet. Let's go to the book of Psalms chapter 99 verse 5. Here's what it says. Exalt Yahweh, our God. Worship at his footstool. He is holy. In this verse, he reveals that God has feet. Because if they set up a footstool for him, a footstool is to put your feet to walk on. If footstool can be set up for God, that means God has a feet to walk. You see, we know that God exists. As I said again, we know that God exists in a spiritual world. Just to have an idea of who God looks like. For instance, if he wanted to manifest himself in this physical world. And this is exactly what we're doing now. We have read some verses that show us that God has eyes, he can see. God has a mouth, he can talk. He has ears to hear, and he has hands, he can touch. He has feet to walk, and so forth. Until now, we're not able with a certainty to say exactly that God looks like human. Why? Because all these things that are mentioned, there are some animals that have them as well. For instance, a monkey. A monkey has everything that I have just said here. But there is one thing I must say. A monkey doesn't have voice. Monkey does make sounds, yes, but God can speak. Amongst everything that God created, we are the only one who have the ability of speaking like God. God speaks and we speak. This is what makes us a difference with the animals and that make us look like God. From there I can say that God can look like human being. But let's go a little deeper to read some more verses. Does anyone ever seen God? When we look deeper and we're searching around the Bible, here's what we see. We can see that Moses in the book of Exodus chapter 33 verse 20. God said unto Moses that no man can see my face and still remain alive. But many people think that nobody can see God. Oh no, nobody can see God because if you see the face of God, you'll die. But that has nothing really to do with the physical face of God. If God has to have a physical face, this answer that God gave to Moses here has nothing to do with seeing his face. And God said to Moses, I'm going to put the palm of my hand over you, and while you are going to be among this work, after I pass, you will see my back. That's his totally symbolic. That has nothing to do with the physical back of God and the physical face of God. God has no physical face. God has no physical back. Now, if we go a little deeper in the book of Judges, chapter 13 and verse 22, you will see that Manoah and his wife thought that they will be dying because they said, oh my God, we see the face of God, we will die. But they were just seeing the angel of God. They think that if they see the face of God, they'll die. And in the book of John, chapter 6, verse 46, not that anyone has seen the Father, except He who is from God, he has seen the Father. Here it says, here Jesus has said that clearly that he has seen the Father. Meaning, what they understand in the first compartment when it says, no one can see God. If someone has seen God, he'll die. That doesn't really mean the physical face of God. There was a prophet whose name was Daniel. He has seen God. He has seen his clothes and he has seen the head. He didn't see his face. I'm going to read for you so that you know what he said. In the book of Daniel chapter 7 verse 9, here's what it says. I watched her until the thrones were placed, and one who was ancient of days sat. His clothing was white as snow, and the hair of his head like a pure wool. His thrones was fire flames, and his wheels burning fire. In this verse, it shows that Daniel has seen the clothing of God, white as snow. He didn't see his face, but he sees the hair of his head. He says that the hair of his head is like pure wool. And who doesn't know what a wool means? A wool is the type of material that looks like cotton. And the sheep has the wool over themselves. You know what the sheep look like. Okay, the sheep have a frizzy hair. It's the same thing like the hair of God was, the way that Daniel can see the hair of God, he sees it frizzy hair, pure wool. If the hair of God is like a wool, it means that if God has got to manifest himself into this physical world, he would be someone like the black people. Why do I say that? Because the black people are the only nation that have curly hair. They have frizzy hair. If Daniel see that the hair of God is like a wool, that means God has frizzy hair. Until now you see. But this is what he reveals here. There is a last verse I'm going to read. It says that God has a soul. God has a heart, like Oscar, like Oscar, human being who has a soul. God also has a soul. And let's read this. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 32, verse 41. Here's what it says. Yes, I will rejoice over them to do them good. And I will plant them in this land assuredly with my whole heart and with my whole soul. Now God is talking about his soul and God is talking about his heart. It means that God is a soul like we are a soul. When God was making a man look like him, like in the book of Genesis, when God said, let us make man in our own image. Let us make man in our own likeness. According to the book of Genesis chapter 1 verse 26. God was making man a soul like he is. God can make man in his own likeness. If God is black, because he has the frizzy hair, now we can understand that the first person that he has created was black. Because when he was a created man, he said, let us make man in our image, in our likeness, like us. And this is what was it. Now we come to understand who God looked like. We know that God can look like the black people. We know that he has a frizzy hair. We know he's physical. Now, if God looked like human, and we know that he looked like the first person that he has created, now we get some piece of information to combine to say if he can come to earth, or if he is not able to come to earth, or if he used to come to earth. But I think this is not enough among all the information that we need to know to talk about God. Why? Because we know that God exists in a in physical world. I mean, in a spiritual world. We still need more information. Now, the most important question that we should ask is, where is God located? It's because it says that God has created the heavens and the earth. We need to know where is he located. Many say that God lives in the sky or God lives in the heaven. But where in the heaven he lives? Where in the sky? If God lives in the sky, where in the sky? If God lives in the heaven, where in the heaven does he live? It says in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. If God created many heavens, that means it's not only one heaven. Now we need to know in what heaven God lives. We need to know where is he located. In the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 1 to 4, Apostle Paul said that there was a man who went up to the third heaven. And that third heaven was in the paradise. He said that he heard the things that were not permitted to someone to receive. But Apostle Paul didn't say that he has seen God. Meaning we can't say that he has seen God or not. But he said that he has heard the things that were not permitted to someone to receive. Can we say that God lives in the heaven, in the third heaven? Because this is where the paradise is. And again, the Bible talk about Enoch in the book of Hebrew, chapter 11, verse 5. It says that Enoch has been taken by God. The same is said in the book of Genesis, chapter 5, verse 24. Those two verses talk about Enoch. It says that Enoch was taken by God. That means Enoch was taken to the heaven. But where in the heaven did Enoch take it? And again, the Bible talk about Elijah. In the book of 2 Kings 2, verse 11, the Bible said that Elijah was ascended to heaven. Now, where in the heaven those people ascended? When we go to the book of John chapter 3, verse 13, Jesus said, no one has ascended to heaven, but only the one who has descended out of heaven. Now, by saying this, Jesus can clearly saying you that those kind of people went to a different type of heaven that God is not there. And Apostle Paul went to heaven, to the third heaven, which is not where God is located. Because Jesus said, no one has ascended to heaven, but only the one was descended out of the heavens. Jesus clearly talking about a type of heaven that's totally different to the heavens where this guy went. Do you clearly understand it? And the King Solomon, in a prayer, revealed this in a sentence where he was thinking about the place where God is located. King Solomon mentioned that in the book of 1 King, verse 8 to 27, he said, but will God in very deed dwell on the earth? Behold, heaven and the heavens of heaven can't contain you. How much less this house that I have built? Now, clearly, Solomon said that the heaven and the heavens of heavens cannot contain God. It means clearly that God is far above and beyond all heavens. And this is the reason why I can understand God revealed himself to Moses by the name of Am. When Moses asked him, when the children of Israel ask me, what is the name of the God who sent you? What will I tell them? And here's what God said to Moses in the book of Exodus, chapter 3, verse 14. God said to Moses, I am who I am. And he said, you shall tell the children of Israel this, I am has sent me to you. The words I am that God revealed himself to Moses means a being that has got the possibility to transform himself into whatever he wants or whoever he wants. And this is exactly that God said to Moses. Now, if we really want to know where God is located, so we can know if God can come to earth, and if God can use God to come to earth, we need to know how many heavens that God created. As I see this video is getting a little longer, so I'm gonna just take a break on this, and we will catch up on the next video. For the two other points, we'll be analyzing how many heavens that God has created, and then we will proceed to some of the great manifestations of God until we have all the information needed to give a better answer to this question. Says that, can God come to earth, and does he use God to come to earth? Good? Catch up.